Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for High Velocity Radio.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of High Velocity Radio, and this is going to be a good one. Today on the show, we have Sheena-Leigh Kennerly with Atlas Online Solutions. Welcome.
Hi.
Hey, I'm so excited to learn what you're up to. Can you tell us a little bit about Atlas Online Solutions? How are you serving folks?
So we're a full-service marketing agency. So we do a little bit more than what's traditionally known for advertising and marketing. We do the regular lead generation and things like that. But we also do offer validation, coaching, sales training. We help support sales team and upsells and things like that.
So what's your backstory? How'd you get involved in this line of work?
Well, my backstory is actually a little bit different. My background is in disability services. And when I met my husband, he was working on Atlas Online Solutions a few hours every evening. And there was actually a few times where I told him it was a bit of a scam, that marketing was not a viable business venture. And then when I was pregnant with our youngest daughter, it made more sense for me to step away from the 9 to 5 and work on the agency because it was growing quite rapidly. And then I threw myself into it and realized it was kind of one of my strengths. So, yeah.
So why do you think you initially thought it was a scam? You were just skeptical of the power that marketing could, persuade someone to take an action?
No, I think it was more because when I was trying to understand it, I was looking at the courses and the training that he had done on it. And when I looked into the people that were offering the courses and the training, they weren't authentic people. And that made me feel like they were selling a scam. Less about marketing being a scam and more about the business model being taught by these people.
Oh, so just kind of the people that maybe are attracted and become these kind of gurus, they might be selling more snake oil than actual solutions?
Yes.
So at some point, though, your husband was doing marketing for other people, and they must have been getting results or they wouldn't keep coming back.
Yeah, no, they definitely were. And his experience is more the technical fulfillment and things like that. And he was actually doing really, really well. But it was not so much about the results it produces for a business. I think the results marketing produces for a business is phenomenal. And I wish that everybody was taught this in school, like how to be an entrepreneur, how to grow your business, both online and in location, and really, really expand. That it's a skill that everybody needs. And it's definitely fantastic. But starting and running an agency, I found at the time I was quite skeptical about.
Yeah, that part, a lot of people get bogged down and then they get overwhelmed and then they kind of quit, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely something that can lead to burnout if you're not doing it properly.
Now, business, who are your clients that when you sell the services to? Are you selling it to kind of coaches, kind of people who are selling online, or are you selling kind of to brick and mortar that, the bakery that's trying to make more money in your, downtown? Like, who is your ideal client?
So we haven't actually niched down, which is a little surprising in this industry. We do work with brick and mortar and big firms and down the road mom and pop shops. But I think the majority of what I enjoy it to do and the majority of our business come from online entrepreneurs like coaches and educators.
So let's kind of help educate some folks and maybe give them some information that you've gleaned over the years. If you have an online business, say you're a coach or maybe an online marketer, what are some of the actionable things you can do today that would positively impact your business?
Well, one of the first things to do would be to create a database. Like, you need to keep a track of every single person who's ever been interested in your service, as well as every single client, and have that in a secure place, because the size of your database directly affects the value of your business, whether or not you go to sell it or if you're looking for a loan or things like that. So that would probably be one of the first things I ever did. And then the second thing would be to really dive deep into who your brand is. So, what's your personality? What's your tonality? Who are you? In a brick and mortar situation, that's much simpler to find. I mean, like you can walk into a cafe or a restaurant or something, and if you're going to recommend it to somebody, you're usually recommending it because of the ambiance and the service and things like that. If you're online, it's much harder to get that brand out there. So that would probably be the second thing I would do, is to truly understand what your brand is and then how to express that. Because if you don't have it in place, there's no point in doing things like running ads and doing social media content and writing newsletters, because it's not going to be anywhere near as effective, and you could just essentially be flushing money down the drain.
So when you work with clients, are there some exercises you do or some questions you ask to help them kind of get a handle on what their brand is, what their positioning is, who the persona of that ideal client is?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So the first thing we would do would be to do an avatar or a buyer persona questionnaire. And we're going to talk about not just who they are, like where they're at in life and their demographic and whether or not they're married and have kids, but we're also going to talk about their feelings, because there's two things that make somebody buy something from you. One, you're different. You know, they're buying you and your point of view, not necessarily your service and your product. And secondly, whether or not you're going to solve a pain point. And I know that that's a word that's used an awful lot, but if you don't think that it's actually valuable for you, then you're not going to purchase it. So we need to know what's their Monday morning problem and what's the feelings around those Monday morning problem and what emotion and stress is that causing in their life. And then what is that secret fear that's actually driving those emotions? And most of the time that secret fear is probably loss of status or respect or something like that. So once you understand that, then we move into the branding. And that's when we talk about, you know, your taglines and what's the impact that you have on the world and what is the experience that people have when they interact with you and your business. What's their buyer's journey look like? What do they feel and what do they come away with and what do they achieve when they work with you?
Can you share a story, maybe of, and you don't have to name the name of the company, but maybe how they came to you and where they were at, and then how after being around you and your team that they were able to get to a new level?
Yeah, for sure. So there is a woman who has been working as a content creator, I guess, in a way. She has quite a large following and she's doing very, very well on that. And her business coaching was more of a hobby to her at the time. And she really, really wanted to see it as a viable option for her and her family. And so when we sat down, you know, I was expecting to be able to have a marketing strategy call, and it actually didn't. It evolved entirely into a brand and avatar call. And the minute we'd completed that, she was able to come back to me 10 days later. She's like, right, I know exactly how to position my wording and exactly how to create this program, this course that I'm planning to do. And she did it. And then within 6 weeks of just having that avatar and that branding thing, she was able to make one post on her social media because she already had a large following and fill up her program. It was very, very powerful.
So you've seen people take action like that in just take one action and have a kind of real measurable difference. Is there any advice you can give regarding how a business can make money quickly? Is there some do's and don'ts?
Yeah. The first thing to do is to nurture your current database. The fastest way to make money without spending money is referrals, word of mouth, and upsells. And so once again, it goes back to that database. Anybody who's ever interacted with your business is much further along in their buyer's journey, more likely to make a sale right now. So I would nurture them. Any current client that you have that is able and willing to make a referral, that referral's way more likely to turn into a paying customer than if you're just to decide, I'm going to do SEO or paid ads or things like that. These things are very, very effective, but they don't make money fast. And yeah,
So let's kind of drill down on that. Like, say you're just starting out and you don't have a big database. So your first step would be to build some sort of a database, some sort of an email list, or some way to contact people in some manner. Like, how would you go about that on day one?
I would start with, once you've done your branding and avatar document, I would then start with starting cold email. Doing LinkedIn outreach, so organic outreach, and then funneling them to a place that they can see you and learn about you and your brand, whether that be a YouTube channel, a Facebook group, or something like that. We would start with building you a lead magnet and really just getting who you are out there, because it's the fastest way to get a database.
So then you have now the beginnings of a database. Like, say you have 10 people on the list. Is that enough to start outreach, or do you have to have a certain minimum number?
10 is definitely enough to start. It really depends on your offering, whether or not it's been market validated, and how much exposure people have had to you as to whether or not they're going to make a purchase right now. But 10 is definitely enough to start getting paying customers out of.
So then you have this 10. Now, what is that? Like, do you now have kind of a regular rhythm, a cadence of messaging? Like, what would be your first, couple of messages you would send to this list of 10 that you've just built?
So it's going to depend on how they came into you. There's a Google study that was done, I think it was earlier this year, called the 7-11-4 rule. And it says that people need to be exposed to you 7 hours of content across 11 different touch points across 4 different platforms. So it depends on how they've come into you and how much exposure they've already had into your brand. But the first thing I would do would be to make a call. Just make a call to them and just introduce yourself and say, hey, thanks for showing interest in whatever it was that they bought it into them. Wanted to introduce myself, and then offer a free cool thing that they think is going to solve one of their problems. And it could be whether or not you're hosting a masterclass, or you are doing a live event somewhere, or you've built out a lead magnet that you think could be really helpful to their business. And I would invite them to take action. And the reason we would do that step first is because we don't know whereabouts in their buyer's journey they are. And if we try and push them to a sale, we'll probably turn them off you for good. So that would probably be the first thing we would do.
So you would build out some sort of education or provide value first at no charge, and then move them deeper into this funnel to eventually sell them something?
Yes and no. So the free content that I recommend people do is YouTube and live events. If you want them to take on the lead magnet, I suggest you ask them to pay you maybe $1 or something like that. Once people have paid you something that seems like a no-brainer amount of money, then it's much easier for them to pay you next time.
So let's pivot a little bit to talk about how your work with agencies and I guess kind of emerging agencies, people who are either plateaued or frustrated. Can you talk a little bit about this Atlas Agency Launch Lab service that you are offering?
Yeah, so Atlas Agency Launch Lab is kind of like an agency incubator, I've heard it being called. So as I said, I was really skeptical of the educators and the influencers that are out there in this space when I first started. And with good reason. We actually ended up investing a lot of money into programs and into courses. And a lot of it either contradicted itself or actually didn't work. Like, they tell you, set up a Facebook ad this way and do it exactly this way. And you do it that way and you end up flopping. And the reason being is that information was old. These people had not actually run an agency themselves before in the past, or they had but hadn't for a long time, and things like that. So I had this skepticism already. And then once we started actually gaining traction and making this a success, people kind of come to you and they ask you what's the secret sauce, I guess. And the truth is there is really no secret sauce, but there is actionable steps you can take. There is knowing what's going on in the marketplace right now. And there is, basically, the 5 things you really just need, 5 or 6 things you just need to have in place. And then that's it. Like the rest of it's fluff and noise. And it gets a little bit crazy. So we started helping people out And then beginning of this year, I realized, I love helping people out, but I need an onboarding and an offboarding process. So we founded Atlas Agency Launch Lab. And once a month, we take in a few agency owners and we put them through our program. And we don't just, teach them with courses. We have a lot of one-on-one coaching. We have group coaching. We have some done-for-you services. We have our lovely brain spotter on staff with us, who's also an agency owner, and she sits there and she helps them with every block they've ever had or to process emotions, teach them how to take work and then leave work and walk away to go to your family and things like that, which is really important when you're an entrepreneur. And we get businesses up and running within 90 days.
Now, is this is the ideal client for this somebody who is brand new to having their own agency, or is this somebody who maybe have had an agency and are getting frustrated and they're plateaued maybe? Who is that persona or avatar for that ideal client for you?
So for me, it's somebody who's had exposure to some form of marketing in the past. Be that, they have a background in copywriting or a background in PR or a background in SEO. Like, they have to have had exposure to something before in the past for this to work, because I'm not teaching people to be button pushers. Otherwise, I'd be changing my course curriculum every 5 minutes because algorithms change. I'm teaching people to be CEOs. And so if they already have a very small knowledge, at least, of something, then we can take them and go. And we've had a lot of success with people who are brand new, haven't done anything, and coming to us, and we're getting them up and running. And we've also had a lot of success with people who are at 6, 7, 8 clients, and they're feeling stalled because they don't know how to get from being a one-man show to being a full-on enterprise. So we have 2 very unique avatars.
And then has that's only been going on for a short time?
So the Launch Lab was actually only officially released in August. Yeah.
So just a few months. And have you had any success stories from there yet? Or is it too early?
We've had quite a few success stories, and it's quite inspiring. If you check out our YouTube channel and our websites, you'll find that some of our students and alumni have gone and shared their experience there. For example, we have Philip, who came in. He's a high-ticket closer with a background in copywriting. By the time he finished, he has 5 high-power, massive name clients, and he's doing very, very well. And he'll tell you his story. He'd been trying to start and be an entrepreneur for a long time before he came to us, and he'd done a few courses, and it wasn't until he, basically walked into our Atlas Agency Launch Lab family that he was, able to get himself going.
So now in your journey, is this work as rewarding as the work at the beginning?
For me, it's much more rewarding. The thing I love most about running an agency is seeing massive change in people's lives, and knowing that I'm helping my avatar business owners to not be burned and churned, to be able to trust marketers out there because I'm training them myself, and then knowing that I'm helping the people who were like my husband and I when we first started and really, really desperately wanted this to work for our family, get what they need. It's fulfilling a need for me by doing this, and I love it.
So if somebody wants to learn more, have a more substantive conversation with you, your husband, or somebody on the team, what is the coordinates?
You can reach out to us at Atlas Agency Launch Lab. You can give us a call on 518-851-8887, or you can look on our YouTube channel where you'll find out more information, or join our Facebook group.
And Atlas Online Solutions, that's kind of the parent company of all this?
Yes, Atlas Online Solutions, the parent company. Atlas Agency Launch Lab, however, does have its own website, Facebook group, and YouTube channel.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story today. You're doing such important work, and we appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, this is Leigh Cantor. We'll see you next time on High Velocity Radio.